Hello friends. If you were born on March 11th, then welcome to the inner sanctum of a unique soul path, one lined with compassion, mystery, magnetic allure, and a heart so deep it could drown the world in empathy. You are a Pisces in the Western zodiac, born on the cusp of winter's last breath and spring's first whisper. You're a dreamer, a mystic, a silent observer with a roaring inner ocean. But there's more to your nature than your sun sign. Let's dive deeper into the waters of love, marriage, sexuality, friendship, career, your darker facets, your sacred life path, and all the hidden wisdom from numerology to ancient Druidic echoes. Love. Romance for you is not an activity or a milestone, it's an atmosphere. It's the air you breathe, the water you swim in, the silence between two heartbeats. Love for someone born on March 11th is immersive, boundless, and often otherworldly. You're not just looking for someone to kiss. You're seeking a soul to fuse with. You don't enter relationships like most people do, calculated, cautious, protective. No, you walk in barefoot, eyes wide open, arms extended, heart already in your hands. Your version of love is deep-sea diving without a tank. It's dangerous, it's brave, it's breathtaking, and it's rare. To love you is to be invited into a dream, a technicolor dreamscape of music, intuition, quiet knowing, and emotional telepathy. You don't need constant words to feel close to someone. You feel it in the way they exhale, in the glance they give you across the room, in the way they remember your favorite childhood book or the exact color your eyes change in sunlight. These small cues are your love language. They signal something ancient to you. When you sense love, you don't tiptoe, you swim toward it with all your heart. Casual dating doesn't satisfy your soul. Flings feel hollow. You don't date for sport or conquest. In fact, meaningless hookups or forced social flirtation can feel physically uncomfortable for you, like you're betraying your own spirit. You crave connection with texture, story, myth, and depth. You want late-night phone calls that last until dawn, letters sealed with wax, hands held during thunderstorms, the kind of intimacy where silence says more than words ever could. But herein lies your romantic tragedy. You sometimes see people not for who they are, but for what they could become. You fall for someone's spirit, their hidden promise, their fractured potential. You want to heal them, love them into wholeness, and while that is beautiful, it is also dangerous. Because sometimes, what you think is stardust is actually smoke. And when the illusion clears, you're left wondering how you fell in love with a ghost. You may idealize your partner to the point of blindness. You convince yourself that they're misunderstood, mysterious, or wounded, when in fact, they might simply be unavailable or emotionally immature. But you stay anyway, hoping your love can reach them, hoping you can pull them into the light. Sometimes you can, sometimes it drains the light right out of you. When you do find a worthy love, though, someone who truly sees you, feels you, hears your soul, you become the kind of partner legends are written about. You are tender, attentive, and imaginative in the ways you express affection. You write long, handwritten notes when texting would suffice. You buy symbolic gifts and remember the small things, the date they first smiled at you, the scent they wore when they laughed on a Tuesday. You're also incredibly sensual, not necessarily in a flashy or loud way, but in a tactile, soulful, immersive sense. You love touch that lingers, gestures that speak louder than words, connection that is more than skin deep. Physical intimacy with you is not just about passion, it's an act of trust, surrender, and spiritual union. You give yourself completely, emotionally, spiritually, physically. But that's also why rejection cuts so deep. A breakup for you is not just a relationship ending, it's a spiritual unraveling. You are not built to love halfway, and that is your superpower, but also your great risk. So remember this, not everyone deserves your ocean. Some people only have the capacity for puddles. Don't pour yourself into cups that can't hold you. Marriage. When someone born on March 11th chooses to marry, it's rarely out of convenience or social expectation. For you, marriage is a vow of souls, a lifelong portal through which two people promise not just to share a life, but to evolve, transform, and spiritually grow together. It's less a legal contract and more a mystical one, a binding made in a sacred place, even if the ceremony was held on a beach or in a courthouse. You don't just marry a person, you marry their essence, their energy, their emotional blueprint, and you expect that they'll meet you not just on the surface, but at every level: intellectual, emotional, spiritual, and even energetic. This means your standards, while unspoken, are extremely high, not in a materialistic way, but in the sense of emotional compatibility and spiritual harmony. If someone feels off, even slightly, you sense it. You might still love them, but you'll never fully relax into them. You do best with a partner who can anchor you, someone who provides a harbor when your emotions swell, a lighthouse when you drift, a hearth when the world goes cold. Earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, are often ideal partners for you, not because they stifle your dreaminess, but because they help you manifest it. They bring structure to your vision. They remind you to eat, to rest, to put away the laundry when you're lost in writing poetry at 2 a.m. and in return, you offer them magic, beauty, and soul. But even in marriage, you are not the traditional type. You thrive in relationships that allow you freedom to feel, create, and sometimes disappear into solitude. You need emotional oxygen. You need a partner who doesn't take it personally when you need time alone, or when you spend 3 days painting or writing or crying for reasons you can't quite explain. The best marriage for you is one that understands the rhythms of your inner world, the tides, the eclipses, the storms, and the calm. Ritual is sacred to you. It grounds you in the real. You may develop spiritual or daily practices with your partner, lighting candles at dinner, watching the stars together on weekends, reading the same book aloud. These rituals aren't frivolous to you. They are soul-binding threads, proof of devotion, acts of care that build a sanctuary for love to thrive in. But when your emotional needs aren't met, or worse, when your sensitivity is dismissed, you begin to retreat. Not angrily, not loudly, but silently. You start floating further and further from your partner, like a boat untethered, drifting with the current. And by the time they realize you're gone, you're already miles away emotionally. It's difficult for people to understand this type of disconnection, because you're physically present, but energetically vanished. Divorce, for you, feels like a spiritual death. Even if you're the one who initiates it, it tears you apart. Because you didn't just lose a spouse, you lost a dream. A shared future, a version of yourself that existed only in that relationship. You grieve that person as much as you grieve the marriage. You may take years to fully recover. But when you do, you return stronger, wiser, and even more open to deeper love. In truth, the only marriage that will fulfill you is one that is rooted in mutual respect, soulful conversation, emotional transparency, and sacred intimacy. You must be cherished not just for your beauty or your loyalty, but for your depth, the unseen currents that swirl beneath your surface. When you are loved in that way, you become the most devoted, nurturing, and intuitively supportive partner anyone could ever ask for. You don't need a perfect marriage, but you do need a soulful one. And you deserve nothing less. Sex. Sex for you is not an act, it's a dimension. It's a sacred language that transcends physicality and borders on the divine. When people say, making love, most don't really mean it. But you do, because when you offer your body, you're not just giving skin, you're surrendering spirit. You're opening doors into your soul that are sealed shut to the rest of the world. Born on March 11th, you carry an erotic intelligence that is instinctive, fluid, and otherworldly. You don't follow rules in bed. You follow energy. You follow the breath, the pulse, the vibration. People who've been with you often describe the experience as haunting, like they weren't just touched, but remembered. Because you're not content with simple release. You want to feel. You want to explore the entire emotional palette of sexuality, from devotion to delirium, from safety to surrender, from soft romance to cosmic intensity. You understand that pleasure is a spiritual force, and you treat it with reverence. Foreplay with you starts hours, sometimes days, before actual contact. A lingering glance, a thoughtful message, a shared playlist that sets a tone. The warmth of someone's voice, a moment of deep presence. That's your arousal. It builds in the heart and drips into the body like honey through the soul. You want to be mentally intoxicated before anything physical begins. And when it does, you're slow, hypnotic, intentional. You notice everything: how your partner breathes when touched a certain way, the way their back arches in rhythm with your kiss, how their energy shifts with each stroke. Touch is not casual to you. It's magic, a sacrament. You want it to mean something. You're also creatively uninhibited. Fantasy is natural to you, not as escapism, but as exploration. You might be drawn to roleplay, costume, or even sexual storytelling. You're fascinated by psychology, taboo, and what lives in the shadows of desire. If emotionally safe, you'll dive into sensual territories others only dream about. Tantric connection? You're built for it. Erotic ritual? You intuitively create it. Long, slow nights that feel like time has dissolved? That's your temple. But because you're so deeply tuned in to your lover's energy, you sometimes forget to ask what you want. Your default is to please, to merge, to give. You become a shapeshifter, adapting to what you sense they need. And while this can make you a generous and unforgettable lover, it also puts your own needs at risk. You may find yourself saying yes when your body is whispering no, or staying quiet when something doesn't feel right. This is where your growth lies, in understanding that you are not just a vessel for another's pleasure. You are a sovereign being with your own desires, rhythms, boundaries, and sacred thresholds. Your gift is presence, but presence must go both ways. You must learn to voice your wants, to explore your own fantasies, to receive, fully and without guilt. Sexual disappointment can wound you more than you admit. You don't just want touch, you want truth through touch. And when a partner is distracted, careless, or disconnected, it doesn't just leave you cold, it feels like betrayal. Like being kissed with a blindfold on. Empty, meaningless. And for you, meaning is everything. The highest expression of your sexuality is not just about pleasure, it's about transformation. When you find a partner who meets you on this level, sex becomes something holy. A channel through which you both come undone, together, in a kind of sacred death and rebirth. You lose your edges, you remember who you really are. You don't just make love, you become love, you dissolve in it, and in doing so, you teach others that the body is not just flesh, it is a poem written by the soul. Friendship. You don't make friends like other people. You recognize them, like stars rediscovering each other in the same constellation, lifetimes apart. When someone walks into your orbit, it doesn't take you long to feel if they belong there. You tune into them quietly, like sonar, measuring their energy, their wounds, their light, the quiet music of their spirit. And if it resonates with your soul, you open up, slowly but entirely. Born on March 11th, you have a magnetism that draws a specific type of person. Seekers, artists, healers, wanderers, and wounded souls who need someone to see them without judgment. You do this naturally. You don't care how someone looks, what they do, or what status they hold. What matters to you is essence. You see people not for who they present themselves to be, but for who they are beneath the surface, and most people don't encounter that kind of gaze often. When they do, they don't forget it. Your empathy is your superpower, and your kryptonite. You absorb emotions like rain into sponge. You know when a friend is off before they say a word. You're the one they call when their world is falling apart, when they're lost, when they need silence that holds space instead of filling it. You have a calming presence, a way of holding pain without turning it into pity. But that same gift can leave you depleted. You sometimes carry burdens that aren't yours to hold. You give so much energy, so much heart, that you forget to check in with yourself. Are you okay? Are your own needs being met? Do you feel seen, or are you just everyone's secret sanctuary? Your inner circle is small, not because you're antisocial, but because your energy is sacred. You don't do fake. You don't do clicks. You don't do friendships based on gossip or convenience. You invest deeply, and you expect presence in return. Loyalty, kindness, emotional intelligence. You're not high maintenance, but you are soul maintenance. And that's not something everyone understands. You're the friend who'll text at 3 a.m. just because you had a feeling. The one who remembers their mom's surgery date, their pet's name, the song that helped them through their breakup. You support their wildest dreams. You sit with them through their mess. You're intuitive, patient, and endlessly forgiving, sometimes to your own detriment. That's your lesson in friendship, knowing when to give and when to stop bleeding. Because there are people who will drain you, who will take your kindness as currency, who will ghost you the minute you ask for something in return. You need to spot them early. Not everyone deserves front row access to your heart. One of your more misunderstood tendencies is your occasional need to disappear. You don't mean to ghost people out of cruelty, it's usually emotional burnout. When you're overwhelmed, you retreat. Not to punish, but to recover. You swim away so you don't drown. But not everyone understands this. To them, it might seem like rejection. That's why communication is key. Even a short message, "I need time, but I care," can make a world of difference. When you find real friends, they are family. Soul family. You'll do anything for them. And they, in turn, feel lucky to be loved by you. Because your love, your loyalty, your listening ear, it's rare. It's healing. It's unforgettable. Friendship, for you, is a spiritual bond. A chosen connection that transcends time and trend. It's not about how often you talk, it's about how deeply, how honestly, how quietly you hold each other's truths in the palm of your shared humanity. And when you find that kind of friendship, you protect it like sacred fire. Because you know, better than most, that this world is loud, and hearts like yours are needed more than ever. Business career. If you were born on March 11th, you didn't come into this world to clock in, gray out, and fade into mediocrity. No, you came here with a vision, a vibration, and a whisper from the universe that keeps calling you toward purpose. Business and career, for you, are not just about survival or prestige, they're about alignment. You want work that feels like a mission, not a prison. And if you don't feel something, inspiration, growth, passion, beauty, you'll eventually walk away, no matter how good the salary is. March 11th people are the dreamers who refuse to harden. The empaths who absorb the world's pain and alchemize it into something meaningful. The creators who don't just produce, but channel. You're meant to do something that taps into your natural gifts, intuition, imagination, compassion, and the ability to see what others cannot. You're not wired for politics, manipulation, or soul-deadening hierarchy. The fluorescent lights of soulless boardrooms dim your light. Micromanagement suffocates you. You need freedom to feel, to explore, to imagine a better way. You thrive in roles that allow you to heal, inspire, transform, or express. Psychology is a natural calling. You understand the human psyche without trying. You intuit wounds behind smiles. You hear what's not said. As a therapist, coach, or counselor, you offer more than insight, you offer presence. And that presence is healing in and of itself. Creative arts? Absolutely. Music, painting, filmmaking, poetry. These are not hobbies for you, they are lifelines. When you create, you're not showing off, you're telling the truth. You birth beauty out of your ache. You reveal what's sacred in the ordinary. You bring color to a world often drowning in beige. People feel your art, it touches places they didn't know needed healing. Spiritual careers come naturally too. Tarot reader, astrologer, Reiki healer, dream analyst, intuitive life coach. These aren't woo-woo paths to you. They are ancient languages your soul already speaks. You don't just learn mysticism, you remember it. And when you share it with others, they feel safe, seen, understood, even changed. And of course, you're drawn to professions of care, nursing, hospice, midwifery, social work. You sit with others through birth, death, trauma, and healing. You're not afraid of rawness. You hold space like a ceremony. You offer your energy like a balm. But you must learn to protect your spirit in these fields. Because you feel everything, and burnout is real. Even science can call to you, especially biology, oceanography, environmental studies, and fields that bring you close to water or nature. You feel the call of the earth, especially the sea. Many March 11th souls are drawn to marine life, ocean preservation, or aquatic research. There's something about the vastness of the ocean that mirrors your own emotional landscape. It calms you, speaks to you. Entrepreneurship suits you well, especially if you're offering something soulful or creative. But you'll need help with structure. You're brilliant, but often scattered. Deadlines feel arbitrary. Spreadsheets are painful. Administrative tasks? Forget it. That's why you thrive with a grounded assistant, a Capricorn business partner, or software that automates the boring stuff. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Your job is to dream, not do everything. Ironically, though money isn't your motivator, abundance often finds you when you're in flow. When you're aligned, inspired, and connected to your work, success unfolds like magic. Clients come, audiences grow, opportunities arrive serendipitously. You are a magnetic creator when you trust your path. But if you chase money without passion, the well dries up. Every time. You're also a trend-sensitive investor. You feel cultural shifts before they happen. You might sense when a product, technology, or idea is about to go viral, not because you studied the data, but because you felt the wave coming. Trust this gift. It makes you uniquely suited to intuitive investing, especially in emerging markets tied to wellness, creativity, or spirituality. You don't need a job, you need a calling. And once you find it, nothing can stop you. You don't work just to pay bills. You work to leave an imprint, a feeling, a spark in the people you serve. That's not a career, it's a legacy. Dark sides. Your soul is a deep ocean, and like any great ocean, it has calm surfaces and dangerous undertows. The beauty of your emotional and spiritual depth is undeniable, but it comes with shadows that must be acknowledged, not feared. Your darkness isn't your flaw, it's your initiation, but to walk through it, you have to name it. Escapism is perhaps your oldest and closest shadow. You're a master of disappearing when life becomes too sharp. When the world cuts too deeply, you don't fight, you float away. Into fantasy, into books, into endless scrolling, into TV marathons, games, alcohol, weed, sometimes even riskier territories. You vanish, not because you're lazy, but because you feel too much. Numbness becomes your medicine. It's not weakness, it's self-preservation. But eventually, it can become a cage. You have a gift for creating beautiful illusions. That's part of your magic. But sometimes, you live in them. You believe your own stories. You romanticize what hurts you. You forgive what should be condemned. And in doing so, you lose pieces of yourself. You trade truth for comfort. And you call that love. Boundaries are a lifelong struggle. You don't just empathize, you merge. You absorb pain like secondhand smoke. You cry other people's tears. You mistake their anxiety for your own. You feel responsible for their healing. This makes you beautiful, but also susceptible to emotional manipulation, codependency, and burnout. Narcissists, energy vampires, and emotional takers are drawn to your light like moths to flame. They sense your kindness, your softness, your need to be needed, and they exploit it, often without you even realizing, until it's too late. Until you're exhausted, confused, doubting your worth, wondering when the giving will finally be reciprocated. You don't need to harden, but you do need to discern. There's also a manipulative side to your emotional intelligence. You may not even realize you're doing it, but when hurt, you know how to wound silently. Through withdrawal, through guilt, through playing the victim. It doesn't come from malice. It comes from the terror of being unseen, unloved, abandoned, so you create quiet consequences, invisible punishments, hoping someone will notice, will come closer, will prove they care, but this only deepens the pain, for everyone. Your work is learning to stand in your truth without disappearing, to speak your needs without guilt, to honor your energy without over-explaining, to say no with love, to stay embodied even when it hurts, because that's where your power is, not in escaping, but in staying, in holding your own emotional center when the world tries to take it from you. And above all, remember, your darkness doesn't make you broken. It makes you whole. The ocean isn't less beautiful because it has storms. Neither are you. Life goals. You were not born to follow the script. You were not sent here to color inside the lines, obey the rules, or chase society's hollow definitions of success. You were born to disrupt numbness with beauty, to soften the world with your sensitivity, to restore what's sacred in a time that forgets the soul. If you were born on March 11th, your life goals are not just personal, they are cosmic. You carry the weight and wonder of a purpose larger than yourself. A mission that pulses through your veins even when you can't quite name it. And it begins with this truth: you are here to heal. But not in the obvious way. You're not a fixer or a preacher. You heal simply by being who you are, by showing up with your open heart, your poetic mind, your tender gaze. You awaken forgotten emotions in others. You remind people of their own humanity. When someone sits with you, they feel seen, not judged, not diagnosed, not fixed, but felt. And that in itself is medicine. You are here to feel it all: joy, sorrow, longing, love, awe. You're not meant to go numb. You're meant to dive deep. You are here to remind others that vulnerability is strength. That real beauty isn't curated, it's raw. You live from the heart, and that is a radical act in a world of masks. Your sensitivity is not a weakness, it is your superpower. And when you accept it fully, you become unstoppable. Creativity is your lifeline. Whether through music, painting, film, dance, or writing, your soul must create. You are not just making art, you are translating the divine. You are turning emotion into expression, turning pain into poetry. Your creations are prayers, invitations, portals. They speak to others on levels they didn't know existed. You don't just entertain, you enchant. You don't just impress, you transform. You're also a soul whisperer, a spiritual mirror, a walking reminder that there is more to life than logic. People may come to you for guidance without even realizing why. They sense your depth. They trust your energy. They tell you their secrets without knowing your name. Your presence alone can bring peace. You are a spiritual teacher without needing a stage, a healer without needing a license, a mystic in modern clothes. But this sacred path is not without hardship. You will often feel torn between your ideals and the harshness of the world. Between your vision and reality. You will be misunderstood, romanticized, dismissed, or overwhelmed. You may struggle with direction, with self-worth, with loneliness. That's part of the journey. Not because you are broken, but because you are being forged. Your path is not linear, it is spiral, cyclical, evolutionary, and every heartbreak deepens your wisdom. Your ultimate life goal? To embody your soul without apology. To bring beauty into the world not through perfection, but through presence. To offer yourself fully, vulnerably, honestly, even when it's terrifying. To live from the heart. To love without armor. To create without censorship. To feel without fear. That is your revolution. That is your gift. If you follow this path, you may not leave behind skyscrapers or fortunes. But you will leave behind transformed hearts. You will leave behind songs that people cry to. Words that save lives. Art that softens rage. Memories of moments when someone sat across from you and finally felt seen. What legacy could ever be greater than that? You were not made to conform. You were made to transcend. So rise, even if you rise slowly, even if you rise in silence. Rise in your own way, because the world needs what only you can give. Numerology, life path number. March 11th is no ordinary birth date, and your life path number reflects that sacred strangeness. In numerology, you likely carry the vibration of master number 11. This isn't a coincidence, it's a soul contract, a spiritual appointment, one that comes with extraordinary light and equal shadows. Master number 11 is known as the spiritual messenger. You are here to uplift, to inspire, to awaken others not just with your words, but with your energy. Your intuition is laser sharp. Your dreams are often prophetic. Your mind sees patterns, symbols, and meanings that others overlook. You're not just imaginative, you're tapped in. This number gives you the power to stir souls, to ignite hope, to create art or ideas that shift perspectives. When you speak from the heart, people listen, not just to your words, but to the vibration underneath them. You have a rare frequency, one that heals without effort, but it can also alienate, because you often feel like an outsider, like no one else quite sees what you see, like the world is too loud, too fast, too shallow for the depths you crave. This is the paradox of master number 11. You are here to bridge heaven and earth, but that bridge can be lonely. You're suspended between realms, too spiritual for the material world, too grounded to fully escape it. You feel the divine, but still have to pay bills. You channel light, but still carry pain. This tension is the work. To integrate your gifts without disowning your humanness. To be both mystic and mortal, soft and strong, infinite and incarnate. Master numbers often come with a heavy emotional load. You may experience early life trauma, sensitivity that overwhelms you, or a long search for your true path. You might feel lost in your 20s, burned out in your 30s, but the soul behind this number matures with time. Every wound becomes a teacher. Every detour becomes fuel, and when you finally align with your mission, you become a force of sacred change. The dark side of 11 is anxiety, self-doubt, and spiritual disconnection. When overwhelmed, you might collapse into apathy or escapism. You may sabotage your own gifts because they feel too big. You may fear being seen, yet ache for recognition. But you're not meant to be invisible. You're meant to illuminate. When you own your radiance, without ego, but with devotion, you unlock miracles. Not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Your number is not just a description, it's a map. And its message is clear. You are here to inspire transformation. Not through force, but through embodiment. Through beauty, through authenticity, through soul. And when you live that truth, you become unstoppable, not because you're chasing power, but because you are power. Quiet power, sacred power, the kind that changes the world one heart at a time. Druid Tree Horoscope, the Weeping Willow. If you were born on March 11th, the ancient Druids would say your soul is rooted in the weeping willow tree, a symbol of sacred feminine power, intuition, deep emotion, and mystical knowledge. This is no ordinary tree, and you are no ordinary soul. The willow is a lunar tree, governed by the moon, and so are you. Your emotions ebb and flow with the tides, your creativity waxes and wanes like the lunar phases, and your dreams whisper to you with the voice of the forest. You are a natural empath, absorbing energy from your environment like leaves drink rain. You sense tension before words are spoken. You feel shifts in the room, in people, in nature. The pain of others often aches in your own bones. You read people not by what they say, but by what they don't. You are a seer, not in the fortune teller sense, but in your ability to intuit what is hidden. And this gift, while beautiful, can also be heavy. It's easy for you to become overwhelmed by the emotions you pick up from others. Boundaries must become your sacred discipline. Like the weeping willow, you are flexible, fluid, and adaptable. You bend with the wind but do not break. You survive storms that others can't imagine, not through brute force, but through your ability to yield. Your power is quiet, gentle, subtle, but make no mistake, it is power nonetheless. The willow reminds us that softness is strength, that there is dignity in surrender, that grace is a form of endurance. You carry all of these truths in your very presence. Your creativity is vast and untamable. Like roots that twist and turn through the earth, your imagination can travel anywhere. You may express this through music, poetry, visual art, or dance. You are drawn to beauty, not just surface beauty, but soul-deep beauty. The kind that evokes feeling, the kind that heals. You are an artist of emotion, a sculptor of memory, a painter of inner landscapes. You are also deeply connected to cycles. Lunar cycles, seasonal cycles, life cycles. You understand death as part of growth. You intuit when something must be released. You know how to grieve, how to let go, how to begin again. This makes you an incredible support system for others during times of transition. You are the person someone calls after a breakup, a loss, a change, because you don't try to fix them. You just sit with them, in the darkness, until the light returns. Yet, for all your gifts, there are shadows to be aware of. The willow's depth can become a well of sadness. You may struggle with melancholy, nostalgia, or a yearning for something that feels just out of reach. You may isolate when overwhelmed, retreating into solitude, convinced that no one could truly understand the vastness of your inner world. You may mistake emotional intensity for destiny, or wallow in pain long after it's meant to be released. Self-pity is your Achilles heel. If you let it grow, it can imprison you. But if you confront it with compassion and creativity, it becomes a gateway to profound wisdom. You are not here to drown in your emotions, you are here to channel them. To let them flow through you like the river bends around a willow's roots. You are not here to be defined by your sorrow, you are here to alchemize it into art, empathy, and spiritual insight. In relationships, you are nurturing, loyal, and emotionally present, but you also require space, reflection, and time to recharge. You bloom when your sensitivity is honored. You wither when it is dismissed. Choose partners and friends who respect your depth, not those who try to fix or minimize it. You are not too much. You are simply tuned to a frequency others may not hear. The willow does not seek the spotlight, but its presence is unforgettable. It does not shout, but it speaks volumes. This is your essence, quiet magic, rooted wisdom, flowing strength. You are here to remind the world that softness is not weakness, and that feeling deeply is not a curse, but a sacred responsibility. Vedic Astrology, Purva Bhadrapada Nakshatra. In the sacred system of Vedic astrology, many souls born on March 11 fall under the influence of the Purva Bhadrapada Nakshatra, a constellation governed by Jupiter and symbolized by a mystical sword, sometimes depicted with twin faces or a burning funeral cot. This is a nakshatra of fire and paradox, transformation and duality, destruction and rebirth, and if it's your star, then your spirit walks between worlds. You are not here to play small. You are not here to skim the surface. You are here to disrupt illusions. You are a spiritual revolutionary disguised as a dreamer, a visionary cloaked in humility. You often live with one foot in this world and the other in the invisible realms, seeing what others miss, sensing what others deny, knowing things long before they happen. And this knowing is not just intellectual, it's cellular, instinctive, ancient. You carry karmic memory, ancestral echoes, and a sense of purpose that defies logic. Purva Bhadrapada is known for its inner fire, a flame that is not always visible but always potent. You may appear soft-spoken, contemplative, or mysterious on the outside, but within you burns a desire to transform. Not just yourself, but the world. You are passionate about causes. You may be drawn to social justice, spiritual activism, mental health, or any field that helps people rise from darkness. You can't stand hypocrisy. You loathe cruelty. You're not interested in small talk. You want soul talk, depth, truth, substance. This nakshatra grants fierce idealism, which can be both a blessing and a curse. You hold yourself to incredibly high standards. You want to live with integrity, meaning, and purpose. But this can make you hypercritical of yourself and others. You may feel disillusioned when the world fails to match your vision. You may swing between hope and despair, devotion and detachment, fire and ice. That's the duality of your path, to balance spirit and matter, shadow and light, action and surrender. Many born under this star experience early life challenges, emotional pain, instability, confusion about identity. But this is not punishment. It is preparation. The fire must be forged. The soul must be tested. And from these trials, you emerge as a truth teller, a teacher, a guide. You are not here to escape suffering. You are here to redeem it. To turn wounds into wisdom, grief into growth, pain into poetry. Spiritually, you are a seeker of ultimate truth. You are drawn to ancient teachings, esoteric practices, and mystical systems. You may explore astrology, yoga, meditation, or sacred philosophy. But you are not a blind follower. You question everything. You want to experience the divine, not just hear about it. Your path is about direct connection, radical honesty, and the courage to walk alone if necessary. This nakshatra also brings a complex relationship with power. You have the potential to lead, but you resist authority. You crave freedom, but you also yearn for structure. You may fluctuate between rebellion and responsibility. The key is to lead from within, to become the master of your own mind, to use your fire not to destroy others, but to burn away illusions, yours and theirs. At your highest, you are a spiritual alchemist, a carrier of sacred flame. You cut through falsehood with grace. You hold space for transformation. You help people walk through their darkest nights, and remind them that dawn always comes. But your work is not done through ego or force. It is done through devotion, through surrender, through the deep knowing that your soul was sent here for something bigger. So embrace your complexity, honor your contradictions, and remember, you are not broken. You are becoming. Flower sign, daffodil. Your flower is the daffodil, one of the first blooms to brave the cold and rise toward the sunlight at the edge of winter's reign. It doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It doesn't ask for applause. It simply emerges, bright, golden, unapologetically alive. And that, in essence, is you. You are the emotional herald of spring, a symbol of quiet resilience and unexpected joy. You carry within you the energy of beginnings, of awakenings, of that first deep breath after long sorrow. Wherever you go, you don't just exist, you lighten the atmosphere. The daffodil is more than a pretty flower. It's a metaphor for how you move through life. Even when your world has been cold or barren, you still find the courage to bloom. You emerge from heartbreak with grace. You face challenges with a half smile. You are the friend who sends a message, just because, who remembers birthdays, who brings hope in the form of small, consistent gestures. You may not always feel strong, but others look at you and see strength in its most radiant, compassionate form. Your optimism is not naive, it's earned. You've cried and still chose to laugh. You've been let down and still chose to rise. You know how to hold both sorrow and sunlight in the same palm. That duality is your gift. You don't pretend life is perfect, but you trust in its potential. That's why people feel better just by being near you. Your joy is not loud, it's gentle. Not boastful, it's grounding. You are a lighthouse for weary hearts, guiding them back to warmth with your quiet flame. But there's a shadow to your bloom. Like daffodils, you may feel obligated to shine even when your soul needs rest. You might suppress your pain because you're the strong one. You might perform happiness even when you're breaking. You might feel guilt when your energy runs low, when your spirit needs solitude, when you're not the source of light others expect you to be. That's where your inner work lies, not in shining endlessly, but in honoring your natural cycles. Daffodils don't bloom all year. They die back, they go underground, they trust the earth to hold them. So must you. It's okay to wilt, to go quiet, to not show up, to tend to your own roots before tending to others. It's not selfish, it's seasonal. Your inner spring will return. Your light will regenerate. You just have to believe, like the daffodil, in the power of rest as much as the power of radiance. Your emotional intelligence is underrated. You pick up subtleties in conversation. You sense who's struggling, even when they smile. You respond to unspoken pain with kindness and grace. You don't need grand gestures to uplift people. Your presence is enough. Your words feel like sunlight after weeks of cloud. You are a healer not because you fix people, but because you remind them they are not broken. In relationships, you bring laughter, sincerity, and gentle affection. You don't need drama, you crave peace. You love deeply but not possessively. You give space but stay emotionally close. You may struggle when partners fail to return your energy or take your light for granted. That's why you must learn to give your sunshine to those who water your roots, not just bask in your glow. Ultimately, your soul's mission is simple but profound: to remind others, and yourself, that hope never fully dies. That something beautiful can always grow again. That even in the harshest winter, a single golden bloom can change everything. You are that bloom, and the world is better every time you decide to rise. Birthstone, aquamarine. Aquamarine, the crystal of March, is more than a pretty blue gem. It is the sacred stone of sea goddesses, of oceanic wisdom, of deep emotional clarity. It's said to be a talisman for travelers, mystics, and those who feel things more deeply than they can explain. This is your birthstone, and its frequency resonates directly with your soul's rhythm. Like the sea it draws its color from, aquamarine holds both calm and depth. When you wear it, carry it, or meditate with it, you're not just accessorizing, you're aligning. This stone helps you soften your nervous system, regulate your emotional tides, and listen to the quiet voice of your intuition. It doesn't silence your feelings, it gives them structure. It teaches you to flow rather than flood. You are naturally sensitive, emotionally rich, and spiritually open. But this openness can sometimes feel like a burden. You absorb other people's energy, worry about things others shrug off, and feel everything in layers. Aquamarine becomes your energetic filter. It shields your heart without closing it. It lets you sense without sinking. It keeps you emotionally porous, but protected. Aquamarine is also the stone of truth speaking. It doesn't make your voice louder, it makes it clearer. When your throat chakra is blocked by fear, anxiety, or the need to please others, aquamarine helps release the tension. It encourages you to speak from the heart without aggression, to be assertive and gentle, to say what you need to say, not with force, but with authenticity. Your words carry energy. When aligned with this stone, they become healing tools. And there's a deeper connection still. Aquamarine is considered a sacred feminine stone, linked to ancient priestesses, mermaids, and seers. Its energy is intuitive, nurturing, mystical. You are all of these things. You may not always claim them, but they live in you. The moment you wear this stone, you remind yourself of that lineage. You awaken the part of you that knows things without knowing how. You reconnect with the ocean inside. In times of anxiety or emotional overwhelm, aquamarine can be your anchor. Not in the way of holding you down, but of stabilizing you. When thoughts spiral or your heart feels too full, this crystal whispers, breathe. Return. You are safe. It's a reminder that emotions are not tidal waves to drown in, they're currents to navigate. And you are a capable swimmer. Spiritually, this stone invites you to deepen your connection to your inner voice. To listen more than speak. To sense more than analyze. To dream more than doubt. Aquamarine strengthens meditation, dream work, breathwork, and prayer. It opens portals to guidance from the divine feminine. It doesn't just calm, it connects. And finally, this gem mirrors your own nature. Like you, aquamarine is beautiful but understated, powerful but soft, deep but clear. It doesn't demand attention, it radiates peace. That's your essence too. Wearing it is like remembering your truth. In the end, aquamarine is not just your birthstone, it's a spiritual ally. A mirror, a balm, a reminder that sensitivity is sacred, that intuition is strength, and that your voice, when used with compassion, can ripple through the world like waves on the sea. Final reflections. To be born on March 11th is to carry a particular kind of light, a quiet, soul-deep luminosity that doesn't demand attention, yet transforms everything it touches. You are not here to impress, perform, or compete. You are here to illuminate. Your soul came into this world with ancient wisdom tucked between your ribs and a heart that aches not for possessions, but for connection. You're a living testament that gentleness is strength and that silence can hold more power than any shout. There's a timelessness in you, a sense that you've been here before, not in a boastful, grandiose way, but in the quiet way you understand things without needing them explained. You notice the small details that others overlook. The shift in someone's voice when they're hurting, the way light filters through trees at dusk, the pause before someone says what really matters. You are deeply present in a world that's always rushing past itself. And that presence is your magic. The world, though, doesn't always make space for souls like yours. It tries to rush you, to harden you, to convince you that speed equals success and loudness equals power. But your power has never been rooted in external noise. It lives in your stillness, your sensitivity, your courage to feel deeply in a culture that numbs. You are not broken for caring too much or feeling too often. That is your gift. You're not too emotional, you're emotionally fluent. And that fluency allows you to speak in the subtle dialects of the heart. You weren't born to chase trophies or titles. You were born to touch lives in the softest of ways, through your compassion, your intuition, your uncanny ability to understand. People open up around you not because you ask the perfect questions, but because you see them. You listen without judgment. You hold their secrets like sacred things. You remind them that they're not alone, that they matter, that they are still worthy of love, even when they can't believe it themselves. And in doing so, you perform a quiet kind of alchemy. You don't just hear people, you heal them. Not through fixing, but through feeling. Not through logic, but through empathy. Not by solving their pain, but by sitting beside them in it. You are the warm cup of tea on a hard day, the safe silence after a long cry, the moonlight on still water. That's the kind of soul you are. But don't forget, you're allowed to receive as much as you give. You're allowed to rest, to feel tired, to not always be the strong one. Your softness doesn't mean you should be a sponge for the world's pain. You're here to reflect light, not absorb everyone's shadows. You must learn to protect your energy as fiercely as you offer your love. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Sometimes, your most healing act is saying, "No, not now," or "I need to tend to me." Your dreams matter, not just the ones you have for others, but the ones you have for yourself. Don't be afraid to follow them into wild, uncharted places. Your soul craves not comfort, but meaning. You long for experiences that awaken you, for relationships that nourish you, for creative work that feels like prayer. Chase those things, not because they'll bring you status, but because they'll bring you home to yourself. Your heart has known loneliness, no doubt. It's part of walking through the world as someone so emotionally tuned. But know this, you are never truly alone. The universe watches over you with quiet reverence. The stars did not place you here by accident. They saw your light and chose this time, this body, this life, as the perfect vessel for it. You don't have to do anything extraordinary to earn your place in this world. You already belong. And if there are days when you feel lost, unappreciated, invisible, look up. Remember who you are, a soul born under the dreaming sky of March 11th. A weaver of emotion, a healer in disguise, a mystic cloaked in ordinary skin. You don't need to shine like the sun to matter. You are moonlight, silver, gentle, eternal. You illuminate without burning. You guide without blinding. You love without limit. So, dear dreamer, let yourself keep dreaming. Let yourself keep loving, imperfectly, beautifully, endlessly. Let yourself believe in magic, in meaning, in the slow unfolding of your own destiny. The world needs more souls like yours, souls who don't just survive, but soften the places they touch. Souls who carry a little light into the dark. And no matter what anyone else tells you, know this with certainty, you are doing just fine. More than fine, you are exactly who, and where, you are meant to be.